Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again from the OREI team with an overview of the brand new ToVi X2 system, which allows you to easily create a flexible and expandable AV-over-IP solution for distributing all of your media content to multiple remote locations at the same time, up to 328 feet away over a single network connection. And the best part is the entire solution is software defined, which means you can instantly create different relationships between the transmitter modules and receiver modules so they behave like other standard audio-video products. For example, you can distribute content from one location to a second remote location up to 328 feet away, and you can add additional receivers to distribute that same media content to multiple remote locations, effectively turning the transmitter into an HDMI splitter. You can also add additional transmitters and use those to create an HDMI switch or an HDMI matrix relationship. And you can also create a video wall at one of the locations by having multiple receivers at that location so that media stream that's being sent there is broken into multiple parts for display on individual monitors, creating that gigantic video wall. And all of this can be done through the software on the Video Network Hub. Now, I'd like to start off this overview by explaining the components involved with the X2 system, and then I'll actually take a closer look at each of the components and explain the connections and indicators so you understand exactly how to use the system. And then I'll come back one more time and point out some of the benefits that the new ToVi X2 system provides. So what I have in front of me is a collection of equipment that makes up the ToVi X2 system. There's a PoE switch. There are transceivers. Now what's interesting is most other systems have a dedicated transmitter and receiver. With the X2 solution, each of these can act as a transmitter or a receiver, which makes it a lot more flexible. And there are two versions. There's a 4K version if you have ultra high definition media content, and there's a 1080p version if your content is only 1080p. You'll need at least one transceiver and one transceiver for the receiver end. And then there's a network control hub that actually hosts the software that controls the relationships between the transmitters and the receivers. But again, the nice part about this is the solution can be instantly reconfigured to create that HDMI extension, HDMI splitter, HDMI matrix, or even video wall controller functionality inside of the same network. The product fully supports HDMI 2.0b as well as HDCP 2.2 content, and it provides KVM functionality, which allows you to locate a keyboard and mouse at one of those remote locations to remotely control a computer at the primary location. Both the transmitter and receiver modules feature audio extraction capabilities where they can digitally separate the audio from the media content being sent there and allow you to pass that audio along to a soundbar or a home stereo for that full theater experience. And finally, the entire solution utilizes the latest in power over cable technology, which means the minute you plug these modules into a PoE switch, you won't need a power supply because the power required for each of the modules is sent over that same LAN connection. So it's an incredibly easy system to use. Now, if you stay tuned next, I'll take a closer look at all of the modules and again explain the connections and indicators, and then I'll come back one more time and point out some of the special benefits that this product provides. This first module is the X2 Series 1080p transceiver, and it features a full metal enclosure which makes it incredibly durable and really helps to minimize outside interference from causing any issues with the sensitive electronics inside. On the top of the cabinet, as well as along both sides, and even the bottom, you'll find ventilation slots that are really designed to let any heat that develops during Operation escape to keep the electronics inside at a very comfortable temperature. You'll also find mounting holes on both sides that can be used with the included bracketing kit to mount the module up off the ground and out of the way. On the bottom, there are 4 rubber feet that help to protect the surface you set it down on and keep it from sliding around during operation. On the front of the unit, starting on the left, are 2 indicators labeled encoder and decoder. This transceiver can operate as an encoder or a decoder depending on how you have the switch on the rear set, and I'll show you where that switch is in a second. But these indicate which mode this module is currently operating in. To the right of that is a link indicator. When you connect this to your switch, that connection is checked, and once it's been verified, this LED will come on, letting you know you have a solid connection to the switch. The module also checks the speed of that connection, and this indicator will let you know if you're operating at 100 megabits or a gigabit speed. To the right of that is a ready indicator. When you connect this to the network, the first thing it does is start searching for a companion on the network that's operating on the same channel. And when it finds a companion, the ready LED will come on, letting you know it's ready to start transferring media content. And finally, to the right of that is a power indicator. When you add power to the module, it starts an internal power on self-test where it checks the electronics, and once it passes that test, it'll light the power LED, letting you know the module's ready to use. On the rear of the unit, starting on the left, is a power port, and that's used with the power supply. You'll simply plug that power supply into a wall outlet. The other end of the cable has a barrel connection on it, which plugs in right there with a locking collar you can tighten so it doesn't pop out. But this system uses power over Ethernet technology, so if you plug this module into a PoE-capable switch, you won't need to worry about that power supply because all the power required for the module is sent over that LAN connection. This unit also provides KVM functionality, which allows you to connect the keyboard and mouse up at one of the remote locations to remotely control a computer at the primary location. And if you'd like to take advantage of that feature, you can use this port to connect a local computer. To the right of that are two full-sized USB-A ports, and those are used for connecting external peripherals like a microphone or a camera or even a portable hard drive to that local computer. To the right of that, you'll find a full-sized HDMI port labeled input. This connects to whatever media device you'd like to share the content from with your remote locations, and always use a high-quality cable to make that connection. This product provides local loopback functionality, which allows you to continue to enjoy the content here at the primary location while you're sharing it with the remote location. And if you'd like to take advantage of that feature, you can connect another HDMI cable to this port to a local monitor to enjoy that content. This product also provides audio extraction capabilities where it can digitally separate the audio from the media content you're watching and allows you to pass that along through these connections to a local soundbar or home stereo for better quality audio. This product also provides RS-232 pass-through functionality, and if you'd like to take advantage of that, you can make a connection right here. To the right of that is a fiber optic connection. You can use a fiber optic switch and you'll need to add an SFP to do that, but you'll plug the SFP in here to make the connection to the switch. To the right of that is a LAN port, and that's used for connecting this module to your PoE switch. You'll plug it in right there. And to the right of that is the switch that I'd mentioned earlier that allows you to decide if this module will be a decoder or an encoder. Right now I'm set up as an encoder, so this would connect to your media device. And then finally, to the right of that is a reset button. You can use a small paper clip and gently push that button if you need to reset the module anytime after the power has been applied. This next module is the X2 Series 4K transceiver, which is designed to handle ultra-high definition media content with resolutions up to 4K at 60 frames per second. And it looks similar to the 1080p transceiver with a few minor differences. It features a full metal enclosure, which again makes it incredibly durable. It's also a great choice for both residential or commercial installations. On the top of the cabinet, you'll find ventilation slots, as well as along both sides, but not on the bottom, but it still provides plenty of ventilation to let any heat that develops during operation escape and keep the electronics comfortable. You'll find mounting holes on both sides that can be used with the included bracket to mount it up off the ground, and 4 rubber feet on the bottom that protect the surface you set it down on from scratching and keep it from moving around during operation. Now on the front of the units where you'll start to notice some differences, on the left-hand side is a 3-digit display that lets you know what channel this module is currently operating on, and to the right of that are 2 LED indicators labeled encoder and decoder. Because this is a transceiver, it can operate as an encoder or a decoder depending on how the switch on the rear is set, and I'll show you that switch in a minute, but these indicate which mode this module is currently operating in. To the right of that is a link indicator. When you connect this to your switch, that connection is checked, and once it's been verified, the link indicator comes on, letting you know you have a solid connection to the switch. This module also checks the connection speed to that switch, and this indicator lets you know if you're operating at 100 megabit or gigabit speed. Now with 4K content, you'll want to plug into the fastest port possible on your switch to be able to handle the additional bandwidth needed for 4K content. To the right of that is a ready indicator. When you connect this to your network, it starts searching for a companion that's operating on the same channel, and when it finds that companion, the ready indicator will come on, letting you know it's ready to actually transfer media content between the locations. And finally, to the right of that is a power indicator. When you add power to this, it starts a power on self-test where it checks the electronics, and when it passes that test, the power LED comes on, letting you know it's ready to use. You'll also find a power button right there you can use to turn the unit on and off by tapping that button. On the rear of the unit, starting on the left, is a power port. Again, you've got a power supply that comes with the unit. You can plug that into a wall outlet. The other end of the cable has a barrel connection on it with a locking collar, which plugs in right there and provides all the power you need for operation. But this module also uses power over Ethernet technology, so if you plug this into a PoE capable switch, you won't need to use that power supply. To the right of that is a LAN port. That's where you'll connect this module to your switch. To the right of that is a fiber port. You can use a fiber channel SFP here and connect that to a fiber channel switch if you choose to do that. The next to that is a full-sized HDMI port labeled input. This can connect to the media device if you've got it in encoder mode that you'd like to share the content from with your remote location. And this also provides local loopback functionality, so if you'd like to take advantage of that, you can connect the monitor here to enjoy the content at this location. To the right of that is an audio output block. This unit provides audio extraction capabilities just like the 1080p module does, and you'll connect here to a local soundbar or a home stereo if you'd like to pass that audio along for better quality audio. This unit also provides RS-232 pass-through, so if you'd like to take advantage of that, you can make a connection here. And then finally, to the right of that, there's KVM functionality built into this, and depending on whether you're using it as an encoder or a decoder, these three ports are involved. So if it's used as an encoder, you can connect a computer here. If it's used as a decoder, both of these are active. You can connect peripherals here like a printer or a microphone or a camera at the remote location that'll connect to the computer at the primary location. And finally, to the right of that is another reset button. You can use a paper clip and gently push that button if needed once power has been applied to the module to reset it if needed. This final module is the ToVi X2 Series Video Network Hub, and it's really the brains of the operation because it's where the software resides that controls the relationships between the encoder and decoder modules that allow you to distribute your media content across the entire network. And this module provides an internal graphical user interface that you can access by simply opening a browser on any computer connected to the same network and simply navigating to the IP address of this module, and you'll be greeted with a login screen and then have complete control over the distribution of your media content between your locations. The module features a full metal enclosure, which again makes it incredibly durable. On either side, you'll find ventilation slots that are designed to let any heat that develops during operation escape, as well as mounting holes on both sides you can use with the included bracketing kit to mount it up off the ground and out of the way. On the front of the module, starting on the left, you'll find a micro USB port labeled Update, and that's for updating firmware on the module later on if needed. And to do that, you'll simply connect this to a local computer and move that firmware file over to the module to complete that upgrade. To the right of that is another reset button. If you need to reset the module for any reason once power has been applied, you can simply use a paper clip and gently push that button behind the hole. To the right of that is a power indicator. When you add power to the module, it starts that internal power on self-test where it checks the electronics. Once it passes that test, it'll light the power LED, letting you know it's ready to use. The status indicator will initially blink yellow and green when you're connecting this to your network, and once it establishes a connection to your network and recognizes all of the modules that are connected, it'll stay on solid, letting you know it's ready to use. On the rear of the module, starting on the left, you'll find a power port. You've got a power supply included with this module that you can plug into any standard power outlet. The other end of that cable has a barrel connection on it with a locking collar, which plugs in right there, and you can finger tighten the collar to make sure it doesn't pop out. But this module uses power over Ethernet technology, which means if you connect this to a PoE capable switch, you won't need to use that power supply. To the right of that, you'll find two LAN ports, one labeled Video LAN and one labeled Control LAN. Normally, you'll connect this to the same network your modules are connected to, and you'll control it by navigating across that network to this module. But if you're in a secure environment, you may need a different control LAN, so these two are provided to either use the same LAN that you're using for your modules or use a separate LAN for control. To the right of that, you'll find RS-232 connections. Again, this product provides RS-232 pass-through, and if you'd like to take advantage of that, you can connect here. It also provides different I/O output profiles, so it can turn on relays, it can provide external power, and that's explained in the manual, and that's something you may want to use with external devices to turn them on and turn them off. And you can actually decide what voltage is being sent to these with this switch right here, either 5 volts or 12 volts. And then finally, to the right of that are two 3.5 millimeter ports labeled infrared in and infrared out. These can be used for extending the infrared control of this product using an infrared blaster kit, and again, that's explained in the manual. That's pretty much it for the Video Network Hub. I hope you found those closer looks helpful. Now here are a few really important things to keep in mind if you're considering the brand new ToVi X2 solution from OREI for your media needs. The first thing is this product is fully software defined. So unlike dedicated AV products that require a splitter and maybe a matrix and a video wall controller as individual products, with this system, you can actually create those digitally through software that lives on the Video Network Hub. It also gives you a lot of flexibility on how you distribute your content. So for example, you can use a single transmitter and a single receiver and create an HDMI extension relationship where you've got content from one location that's being sent to a remote location someplace up to 328 feet away over a single network connection. But by adding a second receiver, you can now distribute that media content to multiple remote locations at the same time, effectively turning the transmitter into an HDMI splitter. You can add additional transmitters, and that'll give you sort of an HDMI switch or a matrix functionality where you can redirect the media streams to different locations through that software. And then finally, you can even set up a video wall at one of those locations by using multiple receivers and having that single media stream being broken into multiple parts at that location for display in individual monitors that have been gathered together, creating a gigantic video wall. The product fully supports the latest in HDMI standards, including HDMI 2.0b as well as HDCP 2.2. It also fully supports 4K ultra-high definition media content with the advanced receiver and transmitter, and supports 1080p content on the standard transmitter and receiver. In addition to that, the product provides full KVM functionality where you can plug a keyboard and mouse in at a remote location to remotely control the computer at the primary location. It also provides audio extraction capabilities, which is a great feature because that allows the units to extract the audio from the media that you're displaying and allows you to pass that along to a soundbar, home stereo, or an amplifier system for that full theater experience. And finally, the entire solution utilizes the latest in power over cable technology, which means a single connection back to the PoE switch is all the power you'll need to operate these individual modules, which eliminates the need for a power supply and greatly simplifies your wiring. Everything you need to get started is included with the kit, and with a few simple connections, you can be up and running in no time. So until next time, thanks again for watching.